The Imagine More Success radio show is the all about you show with successful entrepreneurs and business experts sharing their stories and powerful takeaways while providing you with tips, tools, tactics, and a free weekly gift to help you thrive. Your hosts for the Imagine More Success radio show are the best-selling author Cindy Hendricks, a certified business consultant, and Thomas Hides, a certified world-class public speaking coach. Check out the Imagine More Success radio show at imaginemoresuccess.net because now is the time for you to realize your dreams and to imagine more success. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. We want to welcome you to the Imagine More Success radio show. We have a really fantastic lineup for you today. The title of today's show is Fit Forever. You can create a lifetime of great health. And we're going to have a really fun day today. We're going to be exploring some really cool topics like anti-aging, contest prep if you're someone who is in the place where you like to enter a bodybuilding contest. We're going to hit all sorts of really cool topics today because our guest on the show today actually has an extraordinary background and is quite a bit of an achiever. So we're going to have a really fun time picking her brain today. Her name is Dr. Stacey Naito.
Well, I'm so excited. I am so excited for Stacey to be on the show today for several reasons, because what better time to talk about health than this time in our country, right?
Yeah, well, certainly. Around the world, people are bringing up the topic of health more so than ever, and it's actually a really great byproduct of something that's considered extraordinarily negative this time of the global pandemic. But you know what? Something great always happens no matter how bad the initial event may be. So,
yes, and the other side of that is, who doesn't want to hear about anti-aging?
Absolutely. I want to take a moment and tell you a little bit about our guest today. Dr. Stacey Naito is a fully licensed and board-certified family practice physician. But let me tell you something. She's no typical doctor because not only is she board-certified family practice physician, she also has been the director of cosmetic research at a big Los Angeles-based hospital. She's a published medical researcher, and she's worked extensively with major dermatological laser platforms. And as a result of both her skill and her artistry with Botox and dermal fillers, she's become known as the filler queen, and which I think is a great title. I love that. And after working for a number of years in primary care, physical medicine, and cosmetic dermatology, Dr. Naito actually has expanded her menu of services, and she's become actively involved in the anti-aging medicine and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And in addition to that, all those things, Dr. Naito is also an IFBB professional, which she attained that status July 2013. She competed in 21 events, competed in 4 pro events before she retired from the competition stage. She's also a writer, a brand influencer, and a model. And Dr. Stacey Naito, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really just so honored and pleased to be a part of your show. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Glad to have you here today. This is really cool. Dr. Stacey Naito has spent a lot of time working with people who are involved in anti-aging medicine, but in helping people who are really in the point of their life where anti-aging becomes incredibly important. Dr. Naito, tell us a little bit about, so kind of like a typical client story for you now.
A typical client story for me now? You mean during COVID-19 lockdown craziness? Or?
Maybe that's the wrong term. I mean, wouldn't that be in extremis right now?
Yeah.
For someone who comes to you, who is, say, 40 or 50, and they want to see what they can do, what kind of changes they can make in their health, in their life.
Okay, so, I mean, a typical client/patient will come to me and say, I was doing great. I was at a normal weight. My energy levels were fine. Everything seemed to be fine until I hit, and they'll mention some kind of age. Like when I hit 42, everything just started to unravel. Or when I hit 46, everything just started to unravel. And hey, doc, I'm really curious. Is there anything that I can do to fend off this aging process, because I don't want to get old. So that's typically what I'll see. People are just they're sort of desperate, and they want some answers, they want some solutions, and they don't want to be, I guess they don't want to succumb to the ravages of father time. So that's so.
You know, I completely understand that, and I know that working with you, they've had some tremendous results as well. Um, there's something that I've noticed and have talked about with some of our other guests on the show, that when you typically go to, say, just your normal family doctor, there's not enough time, and they don't have enough maybe resources or time or level of communication with the patients in order to really give them a long-term strategy for staying healthy or for getting healthier when they've been sick. So having someone like you who is focused specifically on a very specific track or plan for helping someone to get better and feel better seems to be really important, but most people don't realize that they need that, or that's an extra layer of protection or an extra layer of positivity that they can add to their health. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, so first of all, I wanted to address the issue of, here I'm a family practice physician, and I actually chose to kind of step away from traditional family practice because I felt that it wasn't a branch of medicine that was proactive enough. And there are things that they don't teach you in medical school. They don't teach you fitness and wellness. They don't tell you, what foods you should be eating. They don't tell you any of that stuff. So, I learned that through my fitness background, which I've been involved in fitness for 30 years now. My undergraduate degree was in exercise science. I worked as a trainer and coach before I even went off to med school. So, that's one element there, is that I think, even if people are interested in taking their health to the next level, they may not know that there are practitioners like myself who have, stepped away from the straight and narrow traditional Western approach to medicine, but who have rather gone into other realms and have been excited about adding new tools to the treatment regimen. So that's what I do. So I also am speaking from personal experience, because I've just turned
Absolutely.
I just turned 54. I don't want to get old. I'm gonna fight Father Time, kicking and screaming. And so, what can I do to help my patients and my clients? I can help them to fight that aging process. And again, because I have all these tools, the fitness and the nutrition and all that, it all plays a part. There's also a huge spiritual component, and I talk to my patients about life-work balance, self-care, taking those moments to really pause and to gain proper perspective. And what's interesting is right now, because of COVID-19, I would say we're all being forced to re-examine our lives and to really determine what's most important. So in a sense, I would say the lockdown has done some tremendously wonderful things for us as a collective whole.
I would have to agree. Cindy, would you agree with that too?
Absolutely. And I think people, exactly what Dr. Naito said, was that people are really looking for answers right now, and they are looking to better themselves in all areas, but with the COVID-19, especially in health. And, what American can't do a better job of all the things that Dr. Mentioned? I mean, the people I know and I work with, they don't even think about self-care. It's not in their vocabulary. So I think what you're doing to promote that is incredible.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean, the whole reason why I went into, the whole reason why I went into fitness, as well as the whole reason why I went into medicine, was to help people, to truly help them and transform their lives. And so, yeah, it's actually a wonderful blessing and gift that I have to be able to do that.
Well, the one thing that I really admire you for bringing forward is the fact that in the regular medical field,
Mm-hmm.
they are just simply not trained in so many different ways that really could help people. I mean, I've had issues with doctors that I knew more because I have an interest in natural medicine and in natural nutrition. And I was shocked to know that they don't know that much, and that they were asking me questions about, and dermatologists too. So I'm on board with your thinking there and agree. And I think more people need to know to look outside the box and find people like you that are looking for answers that are going to help people with their health, their aging, their nutrition, and all the other things that you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just again, this is a great time to have increased awareness of our what we're doing on the planet here, and how we want to live. And again, especially because of COVID-19, I mean, you just don't know how long you have. So why not live your life the best way?
That is very poignant. So we're going to take just a quick break here. Dr. Naito just left us with an incredible message, which is really taking a look at your life and seeing how you want to live. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the spiritual issues around getting yourself healthy and some of the ideas that you can begin to utilize to have that transformation that you want to have in your life. And please stay with us. We'll be back in just a few moments with the Imagine More Success radio show. Back to the Imagine More Success radio show with Cindy and Thomas. We've been having a really fun conversation today with Dr. Stacey Naito, who is a fully licensed and board certified family practice physician, as well as a fitness expert, model, and brand ambassador. And in our previous segment, Dr. Naito was talking about some of the basic ideas around anti-aging. And if you're over the age of 40 and you've had any of these kind of symptoms or feelings, if you feel low energy or insomnia, irritability, weight gain, mood swings, night sweats, skin changes, decreased libido, increased anxiety,
or all of the above,
or all of the above, this is the segment you definitely want to tune into. I know that sounds like a ridiculous list, Dr. Naito, you're probably laughing right now at that, but I'm sure that's exactly what you find, right?
It's a very real list. And I mean, I've had patients who will come in and they'll say, yeah, you just gave me this questionnaire and I checked the yes box all of the above,
Well, to be honest, it sounds like perimenopause.
Oof, yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, that'll kick you in the rear.
Yes.
So, Dr. Naito, when someone comes to you and they have all these symptoms, obviously there's a lot of physical things that are going on for them that are really bothering them. But earlier you talked about the spiritual transformation that someone can undergo to begin the anti-aging process. Walk us through what you've seen in that.
Well, okay. What immediately popped into my head was a very common scenario I see, especially with women in their 40s and beyond. They'll come to me and, obviously they're going through, the quote unquote, the change, right? And so when I query them as to, what's going on with them, their specific physical symptoms, I also ask them what's going on in their lives. So, how's work? How's your marriage? How are your children? How are your parents? That sort of thing. What I find is that many of these individuals have forgotten about themselves. So, and I always mention this, or I have a tendency to mention this. When you're on a plane, although none of us are really flying right now, but that's beside the point. When you're on a plane, and if there's an emergency, the oxygen masks will, they'll come down from the overhead bins. And the instructions are always that you need to put that oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your child. Now, I think that's such a compelling message. So I'll tell people, okay, I think you probably forgot to put that oxygen mask on your own face. You're not feeding yourself. You're not nurturing yourself. It's time to really, explore all those things that are holding you back from loving yourself and really nurturing yourself. And so that to me is, I would say, a very critical component to helping, a patient or client to transform.
I could see that as being a massive mindset shift for someone to put them in the right direction and give them I guess, the permission to take control of their own health destiny.
True, yeah, and there's a certain language that they need to adopt. When they're going through that self-talk. So I help them reframe things. So if maybe I'll be talking to a patient or a client who says, "I hate exercise."
Okay.
Oh, it's such a drag that I gotta go and do my half hour, whatever. And I'll say, you know what? It's time for you to reframe that and say, oh, goody, I get to have me time. I get to have this time to have to enhance my body awareness and to really, again, nurture. I know that I keep saying that word, but this is a chance for me to nurture myself. So I should be excited about exercising instead of looking at it as drudgery and something I don't want to do. So yeah, it's just, reframing, using different language, using different terminology.
Yeah, I can see where telling someone that they're nurturing themselves when they go to the gym might have a huge shift if they think that they need to get there and go, no pain, no gain. I'm going to get shredded. I'm going to get cut off. Like,
yeah.
Well, I think my reframing language is going to be, I'm going to look and feel younger.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Like, honestly, whatever it is that excites and empowers and motivates someone, that's what they need to, start latching on to.
Let's start with talking a little bit about nutrition, because I know you're an expert in that area. How do you get someone who's kind of on the standard American diet, who hasn't been paying attention to what they're eating, and they've kind of been eating on the run, eating on the go because they're busy, they're eating under stress, feeling a lot of anxiety? How do you give them a plan, or how do you work them into the proper nutrition for them?
Well, so for people like that, it can be very difficult to, I guess, take them off certain foods cold turkey. So what I do is I kind of, I do a modified meal plan where they'll still have some of, they'll have a cheat meal. So I'll say, okay, you can still eat that horrible stuff. And then I'll tell them to keep a food diary. So I'll tell them, especially on your cheat meal, I want you to write down how you felt like the next day. Because oftentimes what happens is these people, they're eating these foods that are basically poison. And they'll notice, like, the next day or even a couple of hours later, they'll say, you know what? I mean, I had that cheat meal and I felt awful afterwards. I got a headache, or I was just feeling really sluggish or whatever. So I want them to start paying attention to, what they're putting into their bodies, because, food is fuel, food is medicine. It can also be poison. So, by keeping those food diaries, they start to learn, oh, wow, okay, food really does have a profound effect on how I feel.
I can see that. That really gives them a chance to kind of observe and to track what nutrition does to them in the short term, which is obviously magnified over time when you keep repeating the same behaviors. If you feel really bad after eating your cheat meal, but your cheat meal is your everyday meal, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, and so, another important thing that I will do with patients and clients is I'll tell them, you're going to need to go through your pantry, and here's a list of ingredients you need to avoid. And oftentimes they'll just be shocked, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that all these things were so bad for me.
I think they knew.
Yeah. They'll go, oh gosh, I mean, my pantry is almost empty now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Cheetos are the first clue.
Yeah, exactly. So.
What I was so impressed with on your website is that I have been looking for a low carb, high protein bread for a year. And the highest protein I could find was 5. but it still had quite a few carbs, like mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that you have found a 15-gram protein or 15-gram carb, no, 15-gram carb, and I think it was 15 protein and 15 carb. Is that right?
It's 15 grams of protein per slice, and yes, I believe it is 15 grams of carbs.
I was totally thrilled. So I can't wait to get some ordered because, I mean, that's unheard of. I've looked everywhere.
And the bread is absolutely delicious. It really, truly is. It's got
Well,
a really good texture. It's substantial, and yeah.
and what people don't realize, and, I've studied this myself to keep, weight at a minimum high number anyway, that if you can find a high protein bread with a minimum carb, it offsets the carbs even more.
Sure.
So it's like not even having carbs in the bread.
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
So I'm so excited. I can't wait to order some.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I think you're gonna love it. It really truly is delicious. So yeah.
Because when you go on the low carb diet, you really can't hardly afford to have a piece of bread.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So I am looking at the carbohydrates. It is a total of 15 grams. There's 2 grams of dietary fiber, so your net carbs will be 13 grams per slice.
Right, and then when you offset it with the protein, you have such a low insulin release that your body doesn't even know you had it.
Yep, exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, thank God somebody figured that out and made it.
Well, and it always, it's no surprise that it came from the bodybuilding community because we're all about high protein, and most of us are just terrified of carbs.
Well, and just overall health,
Right, true. But it did start with, and I say this, in kind of in jest, but it started with the meathead bodybuilders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm part of that community. I get it. Like I say it affectionately and in jest, but it's just it's all about the protein, and it's all about building muscle and all the fun stuff that bodybuilders are all about. So
right. So thank you so much for sharing that. I will be passing that on to people that I know have interest.
Oh, wonderful.
And your coupon code. I love that too. Thanks.
Yeah, it helps, it definitely helps offset, the cost of the product and shipping. So yeah.
Yeah, so for our listeners, would you let them know what your code is? So if they have interest in watching their carbs and having a high protein meal, then they can get your 10% off.
So listeners can just go to iconmeals.com, and at checkout they can enter the code DRNAITO, so Dr. Naito, and that will get them a 10% discount on anything they order.
Dr. Naito, so much. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, but when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Dr. Naito so that you can learn how you can be fit forever and create a lifetime of great health. We want to thank you for joining us. Come back in just a couple of minutes to the More Success Radio Show. You're back on the Imagine More Success Radio Show with Cindy and Thomas. We've been having a really great conversation today with Dr. Stacey Naito about being fit forever and how you can create a lifetime of great health. We've hit on some really fun topics like low carb bread, which obviously is really important. I love that. Got a real positive review from a lot of people already, and that's something I'm excited about. We've talked about nutrition. Dr. Naito, quick question for you. Do you include or do you start people on kind of high density, nutrient rich foods that are like supplement based? Do you use reds, greens, or powders or protein powders with your clients when they first come to you?
So in response to that, I try to avoid protein powders. I prefer whole foods.
Okay.
So unless a patient or client is so incredibly busy that it's practically impossible for them to think of, having whole foods all the time. I will tend to just give them whole foods. So what I may do with someone who's very, very busy is I'll say, okay, one of your meals you're going to have a protein shake. So, I'll put some whey protein in there, or egg protein, or pea protein, whatever, because I will also look at their food intolerances. I think that's extremely important.
Mm.
Yeah, I tend to lean very heavily on whole foods. I want them to buy lean meats. If they're vegetarian or vegan, obviously, I would come up with vegetarian or vegan options for protein, and then lots of vegetables. Uh, and depending on what they're doing, if we're low carbing it, I don't really I don't really like keto, so I don't really do much keto as far as meal plans. I will do it, but I don't think it's a sustainable lifestyle. But I choose the carb sources carefully, and I do test each client patient. So it's more work for me, but I know my patients.
Very cool. Dr. Knight, I know that we've talked about nutrition. I wanted to kind of hit on the topic of exercise as well. You told a great story earlier about someone saying that they hated exercise,
Yeah.
and having that shift really made a difference for them. When someone is coming to you and they're over 40, what are some of your basic recommendations, and maybe something that you wouldn't expect?
Uh, Maybe if you could be a little more specific, and I mean, with your question,
Sure.
I apologize, but
Oh,
I
that's
just want
okay.
to be able to give you an appropriate answer to what you're asking.
Say for someone that comes to you, let's talk about two different people. Let's talk about someone who hasn't really exercised much to start with,
Okay.
and then someone who has already been exercising, but maybe there's certain tweaks that they should be doing because they are over the age of 40.
Okay. Well, generally speaking, I would say across the board with patients and clients who are over 40, I tend to lean more towards unilateral movements because there's usually a larger discrepancy in muscle mass and strength between the left leg and the right leg, between the left arm and the right arm. So
Oh,
I
okay.
yeah, so I'll go with more unilateral movements. I also will incorporate more movements that will require them or challenge them to balance, because balance becomes an issue as we get older. So I may have them on like a Bosu ball or an extra disc, and what that makes them do, what that forces them to do, is if they're standing on an extra disc or a Bosu ball, it's going to affect their awareness in space, their proprioception. So they're going to have to adjust and readjust so they can stay on that Bosu ball. So I love incorporating those kinds of movements, and so that's what I do, like basically across the board with any client that I have who's over 40. Now, someone who's brand spanking new to exercise, obviously I've got to handle them a little more with kid gloves, and because I don't want to frighten them off. I don't want them to bite off more than they can chew. I want them to really enjoy the workouts, without the risk of overtraining. So that's what I would do with a newbie. And then with someone who's had some experience with exercise, maybe they were athletes when they were younger, I pay attention to that. So I like to find out, maybe someone was really into playing basketball. So what I'll do is I'll do functional training that kind of mimics more of what they used to do, because
Mm.
muscle memory is there. So I want to activate that. So, and also, if someone says, I played basketball, I really love basketball, well, they're giving me a big hint. They're saying, I love this sport and it makes me happy. So, okay, I would rather that my client do something that he or she really loves to do, instead of, throwing something their way that they don't like.
You know what's funny? I've never really thought about it that way. How you could match someone with what they something that they've already done in the past and how much probably added benefit that has and how quickly and kind of springboard them into the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because genetics will often play a part. So, some of us have more slow twitch fibers, some of us have more, fast twitch fibers. So, if I'm working with someone who is a sprinter, I mean, that person has a much different body composition than someone who's like a marathon runner. So, I have to pay attention to that, and so, it just all plays a part.
And I see that's something you offer as well, which is kind of getting a baseline for body composition. So that's kind of a part of your process, as well as finding out where someone's starting. And then because of your extensive knowledge and background, you have a chance to really create something special for them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So here's a question that I want to hit on, and it may drag into the next segment as well. Let's talk about bioidentical hormones. So I have to tell you, some of my friends who are in that like late 30s, early 40s are former athletes, and the idea of them using something like bioidentical hormones or some of the latest anti-aging therapies, they kind of have a stigma around it because they feel like they're, say, quote unquote, cheating. What would you tell them?
Oh, so first of all, it's absolutely not cheating. So if you think about this, so as we age, our bodies are just, they're not able to produce the hormones in the same quantities as they were, decades ago. So, as you age, things start to wind down. So with bioidentical hormone replacement, what we're basically doing is we're putting back into the body the exact compounds that we used to be able to make, but now are in very short supply. So, there's nothing artificial about it. It's not cheating the system. We're basically trying to restore those normal levels that we had back when we were in our 20s, or even up to maybe early 30s. So yeah, just putting, just filling the pot again. That's all it is.
So I know for a lot of men, obviously there's testosterone replacement therapy. What sort of changes do you see for men who take that on and do that?
Well, so testosterone therapy is actually wonderful for both men and women.
Okay.
They do, they will have certain symptoms which can manifest themselves as their testosterone levels drop. So generally speaking, with testosterone replacement therapy, patients are going to notice, increased energy levels. They're going to notice that, instead of their muscle mass, dwindling, they're actually going to be able to maintain their muscle mass, especially if they're training. There's a nice natural synergy when they do resistance training. So if they're on the testosterone replacement and then they're also training, with resistance, like resistance bands or body weight or weights, there's actually going to be even more of an augmentation of the testosterone that the bodies already naturally produce. So there are also wonderful effects on libido. So libido and sexual performance. So those are issues that will kind of creep up, especially on men as they age. So why not, like I said, why not fill the tank back up so people feel normal? They feel more like themselves again. They can get out of bed in the morning. They feel motivated. They like how they look in the mirror. They have interest in their partners again.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah.
That's really a huge quality of life issue that doesn't just play to hormone levels. It changes your entire life. I can see the value in that.
Absolutely. And, I've also seen patients who, they've gone to other practitioners who have told them, what, you're just depressed and here's an antidepressant. I can prescribe, anything, but I tend to shy away from prescription antidepressants. And that's not to say that someone isn't going to need that, but you do change the brain's chemistry when you throw a prescription antidepressant into the system. So I look at B vitamins. I'll ask them, okay, let's look at your diet, because if you're deficient in some of the B vitamins, well, why don't you take like a B complex? And you know, oftentimes they'll start doing that and they'll say, you know what, I feel great. Like I'm not depressed anymore. Um, I'll look at what's going on with their thyroid. I'll look at I look at the sex hormones. So testosterone, progesterone, also estradiol levels, which do there's something called estrogen dominance, which will make someone more nervous. It'll cause them to deposit more fat around the midsection. So I got to look at all of these levels. And so oftentimes, like I said, if I fix all of that, they'll say, I'm not depressed anymore. I feel great. I don't even know why I even considered going on a prescription antidepressant.
And in just a moment, when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about finding your way to being fit forever on the Imagine More Success radio show. Welcome back to the Imagine More Success radio show with Cindy and Thomas. We've been having a really fun conversation today with Dr. Stacey Naito, who's a fully licensed and board certified family practice physician, as well as a former IFBB pro. And she's been enlightening us some great nutrition and exercise facts, as well as a great talk on bioidentical hormone replacement therapies. And something Cindy and I talk about quite often is the idea of basically taking care of yourself so that you can create a legacy of what's really important for you, what you want to leave behind. So, that's something that we've talked about actually a lot lately.
And things that we've created so that we can help people forever.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it as well. Actually, I was scrolling through Dr. Naito's blog, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Actually, you can go to her website, staceynaito.com, STACEYNAITO.com. You can check out her blog. She's got some really incredible pricing for some great packages where she can help you with nutrition or exercise, or get a great baseline doing some body composition consulting. Something that's fascinating to me that I want to talk about today is the idea of doing contests. And I see, Dr. Naito, that you offer tons of services around doing contests, including helping people learn how to do posing, how to do the makeup for the day of the show, helping them come up with their entire game plan for winning. And what a fascinating world. What's one of the most or some of the most important things that you learned and you gained by going through the process of entering these physique competitions?
Well, honestly, I'm very proud to be an IFBB pro. It's something that I can carry with me forever, and it's really wonderful. I'll share my story. Try to do it quickly. I innocently entered one bodybuilding event, and I thought I was just going to check it off the list. Bucket list item. I want to do this. I ended up competing. I was 43. It was right after my 43rd day. And I fell in love with it. And so that's how one event turned into 17 amateur events. And then I did 4 more shows as a pro.
Wow.
I loved it. And there was so much that happened. Yeah, I went through this kind of blossoming because I had kind of been a little bit shy. I used to do like commercials for my dad. I've always been in front of the camera, and I've modeled my whole life and all that. But there was something kind of terrifying about the idea of stepping on stage. And I had done it before. I had been in a beauty pageant many, many years ago, and I remember being petrified. But here I was on the bodybuilding stage, and I thought, oh my gosh, I align with my own power. And
Can you say that again, Dr. Naito?
This was a way for me to align with my own power. So I became the confident woman that I had always basically wanted to be, because I was stepping on stage and saying, "Wow, you know what? This is a victory. No matter where my placings are, I love this, and it's a celebration of my life and what I've accomplished, and yeah, it was just fantastic. And that's what I'll tell clients. I'll tell them, I want my clients to focus not just on the, the physical aspects and the training and the posing and all that, but to also pay attention to how they feel about themselves, because they are going to feel empowered. They're going to go, wow, I can do this. It's that whole, like, I can do this. I can do anything. It really infuses people with just an incredible sense of power, and not in, it's not a negative thing. It's just this feeling that anything can be done. There are no limits.
I mean, I think that that's got to be a huge paradigm shift for most of the people that you work with, and an unexpected benefit of taking on the challenges of really getting yourself into a place of better health, especially as you get older.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, I think I enjoy working with older athletes more, especially because, I was 43 when I started competing. So I love having
Wow.
clients come to me when they're, in their 40s and their 50s, and they're saying, I want to do this. I've never done anything like this before. And I'll say, you know what? You're going to learn how to put that oxygen mask on your face, and you are going to be rocking that stage, and you're going to be loving life, because you're going to be completely fulfilled. So yeah,
That is incredible.
yeah, it's amazing. It really is an experience. And I felt that every single time I got up on that stage. It was just so exhilarating and so much fun. And the other bonus was that I met all of these wonderful people in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, people who are, lifelong friends. And yeah, I just fell in love with it. It's great. And yeah, I love passing the baton to someone else. Like, hey, you can do this now. So it's cool. Yeah, really cool.
Now, how can people work with you, Stacey, with especially COVID-19?
Well, so I do provide online plans. So, what I'll do is I'll put together an exercise regimen, and especially right now with COVID-19, there are a lot of restrictions. So I'll have or clients, work with their body weight, and I'll ask them, hey, tell me what equipment you have available to you. So if they have resistance bands and they've got a couple of pairs of dumbbells, I'll say, okay, we'll work with that. So, I'll completely work with whatever they have on hand. So that's one thing. The meal plans and the supplement regimens, those change month to month, and as do the exercise plans. Although I'm a little restricted right now because, like I said, if someone only has a couple of resistance bands and a couple of pairs of dumbbells, I can only do so much, but we still get it done. And the other thing that I do offer is, especially with posing, I offer, Zoom consultations, Zoom sessions. So, we can basically be face to face. We'll do, those little virtual meetings, and, I can run a client through posing. I can run a client through an exercise program. It's not a problem. So that's what I can do.
And how do they connect with you?
They can just go to my website, and there are different options for programs that I have there. It's pretty comprehensive, actually. So it's just basically, you click a couple of clicks, and they can sign up for whatever they need, whether it's training, meal plans, posing, all of the above. Yeah.
I think that you had that what you offer is actually, like you said, extensive. I mean, it's pretty much. It seems like anyone can come to you, pretty much any age and with any goal in mind, and you can kind of get them where they like to be, because you have the background from the medical side as well as the background from the fitness side. So it's just, I think it's tremendous. I think it's really cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it seems to fit together, and it fits with my personality, and it keeps me zigging and zagging, but I zig and zag. So.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the things that a lot of the guests on this show can say as well. That they all seem to stay busy doing different things because they're passionate about really helping people, and as they learn more and as they gain more experience, they have a tendency to do it in many different ways, which I think is really cool. It's a great way to give back.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of terms for people who zig and zag. I mean, I've heard one term is a slash, so people who have slash professions.
Okay.
And then the other term is a bent arrow. So,
I've heard of that, but I didn't know what it meant.
yeah, bent arrow is, you go in one direction, you go, oh, I'm going to do this other thing now. And hey, what about this? And, you just kind of stack it all up. So I think all those terms are really fun and very descriptive and very accurate.
Often we have conversations on the show about people's mindset, and I want you to take a moment, Dr. Naito, and imagine someone who is really one of your prospective clients who's out there listening today. And if you could, what kind of uplifting advice can you give them that would make a change in them today that's going to propel them into the future?
Probably the most important thing that I could say to anyone who is considering signing up for a regimen, looking to transform is, it's never too late. It is never, ever too late. Don't make those excuses that you're too old or you're too this or you're too that, because you know what? You can always transform. You can always transform. I firmly believe it. Whether you're 20 or you're 70, if you've never lifted a weight in your life, or you've had all this experience, you know what? Toss away the excuses, toss away those rationalizations that are keeping you pinned down, and go for it. And I'll help you. I'll be right there with you every step of the way.
We love that. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to have you here today, Dr. We hope that if you're listening today that you were inspired, and if you want to take your next step, you can go to staceynaito.com, STACEYNAITO.com. If you'd like to listen to some of our past episodes, you can check out our past episodes at imaginemoresuccess.net. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can create more money in your life, especially in a time like this, go to money.com. We'll find a collection of courses created by myself that are designed to help you create more income and to really help you get that mindset shift that you need. We want to thank you for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful week. We want to remind you that you should always have the opportunity to realize your dreams and to imagine more success.